we're here with the first edition of the Massena Raiders Football Coaches Show. I've got Taylor Zappia with me, and we're getting ready for this Week 0 matchup. Kind of cool that we have a Week 0 matchup, but first and foremost, Coach, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming down to practice today.
Yeah, it was a little bit rainy, but we got it in.
Through it.
So tell me a little bit about this Week 0 matchup and where this kind of helps your team, because it's my understanding the team you're playing is a team you've scrimmaged against before, but maybe haven't had the chance to actually play a real game against.
Yeah, so we play Saranac Lake. We've been scrimmaging them for, way before I came around. So it's been a relationship that we've been lucky enough to have, because they've always given us a good scrimmage every year. They're always a really good team out of Section 7. And when they let us play a Week 0 game a couple years ago, we weren't able to kind of coordinate the game the past couple years. But now that we were able to, on both sides, coordinate the game instead of a scrimmage, I really, truly think that we're going to get a ton more out of it. In my opinion, I think last year, looking back at that first Ogdensburg game, we made mistakes as teams, and I made mistakes as a coach that were kind of like game one mistakes, if that makes sense. And that if we have a Week 0 game, I make those in Week 0, we make those in Week 0. I mean, I would like to not make them at all.
Right, of course.
It's a very crazy game, right? So I'd love to make those, get back into the flow of that Week 0 game, that pressure that the kids feel and that the coaches feel instead of just a scrimmage, even though there's always that pressure. But I really, truly think that if we, last year, if we play a game, we might have, instead of losing by a point, who knows what happens,
Right.
If I make a couple different calls, if we get used to that pressure of having a game instead of a scrimmage, because it's definitely different, as you know.
Yes, for sure. And as far as, going from year 1 to year 2, where have you feel like you've grown as a coach, and how do you feel about your coaching staff this year, and who are they?
Yeah, so my coaching staff has grown a ton. It's off the top of my head. I have a bunch of volunteer. Well, I have Coach Morrow, Jim Morrow, who's the defensive coordinator. He's my assistant coach. I have Michael Gardner, who helps on defense. I have Nate Bresser, who's a volunteer, who helps on offense. I have Maddox Mary. I have Jason Zembeck. I have Casey Simons, who I played with my senior year. I have Sean Fauché, who is an amazing athlete for Massena. So I have a whole bunch of volunteers, a great group of football minds. And I don't know what it's saying about me now, is I coached most of these guys now. Actually, I think like 5 of them I coached. So and kind of stemming off that, this being my 11th year, you learn something new every year, and it's actually amazing. But I think what we're going to work on this year that I've kind of learned from last year, and being the head coach of games, is that we need to practice game management. We need to practice down and distance. We need to practice 2-minute, and not just expect that I'm going to make the right offensive call, and not gonna expect that these kids know exactly what to do in those situations if we don't practice it. So I know this year we're going to get the sticks out for practice. We're going to run a true 2-minute situation, and do these game scenario practice things that, instead of just running plays every single day, right, and not moving down the field, different hashes, which I've been guilty of in the past, going into, game situations and practicing that, so everyone's kind of on the same page when it comes to that.
For folks at home, all right, and I kind of know how this feels, but I want to get your feeling on it. When you have to make that 2-minute call.
Yeah.
Walk us through what that feels like as you're trying to make sure you have everything together, right?
Yeah, who can catch and who can get out of bounds. No, exactly. On my play sheet, I call it my safety blanket, because I have my, my call sheet at practice every day, and I have it at the games every day. But, the coaches make fun of me. Rarely do I, just read off of it, right? I do have it scripted. It's, I have a whole run home to mom section where if I really don't know what's going on, it's like I have it scripted and it's ready, but it's all the flow of the game. And these kids, they're understanding the offense and they're understanding the rules of the offense. And it's not just plays they're memorizing, in a sense. It's that they're memorizing rules, so we can make different adjustments and go off that, and we're not just memorizing plays. So I think kind of tying this all back in, 2-minute situations, it's going back to the basics, I think, and going back to what has worked and what will work for you.
So, obviously, I don't want to hone in on any one individual player because it takes a team to get it done. We all know that. But we also know you guys have one of the best to do it in New York State at quarterback this year, senior Connor Eastwood. Tell me a little bit about how he's grown and what you're seeing from him going into this senior season that you think folks should be excited about.
Yeah, the maturity, definitely. He showed me last year on the football field. He was a mature junior. He's very confident. He goes in there and he commands the offense, and all the guys have a lot of respect for him. But even over the summer, workouts and this preseason, he's shown even more maturity. And I mean, he's a grown man now, so he knows the offense. It's the first time in a long time that we've kept pretty much the same offense for more than 1 year. So he's comfortable with the offense. He's comfortable with the terminology. So yeah, he's definitely somebody. He's got one of the best arms I've seen in high school football. Yeah, I mean, he throws a baseball. It's super fast, so he can throw a football pretty far too. So no, he goes in there. He's with the confidence and the confidence you need as a quarterback. He has it 100%. So we're excited to see what he can do.
So obviously you lost 17 seniors last year. That's also another big story for your team.
Yep.
New faces, maybe not new places, because a lot of these kids come up from JV, which is awesome to be able to have that. Of course, Massena, one of the few teams that actually has a JV team still in our area. Tell us a little bit about what the impact of that means, having that JV squad, and give us some folks to look out for this season.
Yeah, so that JV squad last year, led by Tepani LeBrake, who's going to be, he's got big shoes to fill, literally and figuratively, with Deshaun Walton going to Morrisville State now. He's graduated, but he's now our H. He's an amazing athlete. One of the best athletes on the team, if not in the section. So I think he has been in these past weeks, has been adjusting great. He was a quarterback on JV, so he knows the system. He knows how to fit into the system. So we got Tepani LeBrake. Kind of stemming off that JV team is the big thing that I saw is that led by him, they learned how to win. Right, and that's huge in football, as you know, is that you can be a great team, but if you can't figure out how to win, it's going to be a tough season. Just because you don't have a game every day, where it stinks to sit in that loss for a week. So if you have a team that's coming up and knows how to win, you're not. I tell these guys all the time, it's like you're not sure how you're going to win, but you know you're gonna. So that's the mindset we need to have, and that's the mindset that we found at the end of last year, and these JV kids had at the actually their whole season. So Tepani LeBrake's coming up.
I saw Carter King out there doing a good job.
Carter King is taking reps at. I thought he might have been a tight end because he's strong, and I like to say he's tougher than a $2 steak. So I'm like, I need to find a place for this Carter King, and he took the ball and he started running with it, and I was like, okay, he's a running back. So he's been awesome. He just started playing football last year, so he's loving it. He's getting into it. We got Gage Charleston coming. He was backing up Colton Hardy last year, so he didn't get a ton of reps, but he's an amazing running back. So we got those two. We got Nathan Goulden coming up. So we got a three-headed monster back there if we need. I'm telling these guys to learn other positions because, as you know, you never know. I don't want you just to play one position. I want you to know everything so I can kind of get you in the game. But we got a good group coming up, definitely.
So, Coach, obviously we want to learn something, so that we're helping you out in the stands. Obviously, one of the most important things is don't yell at you, right? But secondly, tell us a little bit about either offense or defense that you want to teach us something here.
Yeah, so offensively, it's kind of if you watch college football, a lot of teams are going to this. We're running more of a zone run scheme. So basically what we're doing is we're stepping to gaps instead of kind of manning up on people and running set offensive plays. We're stepping to gaps, creating, depending on the play, we're creating vertical seams. And pretty much what we're saying is our guys are athletic up front. We're gonna create seams for our running backs. Our running backs are good enough to see the holes, and we're gonna drill it enough in practice. As far as offensively with the run game, it's a zone run game. And the big thing I tried to do last year, and I'm going to keep doing this year, is find different ways to give our athletes the ball in space, especially because I've always said the hardest thing to do in all sports is the open field tackle, especially if it's like a Garrett Weir or even an Eastwood. It's very hard to tackle someone athletic in space. So that's kind of the whole point of this offense.
Right, you kind of have that "Mama, I'm on TV" moment where your eyes get big and then you forget the fundamentals.
Exactly.
As far as this team you're playing, tell us a little bit about them. What can you tell us without giving away your strategy?
From what I've seen and what I've seen in the past, again, we're kind of going off the film we got last year, but obviously so are they. I know scouting Scouting-wise, I believe they lost their stud running back, but I know they're going to have somebody else that jumps in there. I know they have a very tall safety. Can't remember his name, but he was a very good receiver, very tall safety, so we're going to have to figure out a way to stop him. I could, put all my money on that's who they're going to rely on offensively this year. I think he's a senior, so we're going to have to defensively figure out a way to stop him, either match him up or double team him or something. But we have a lot of options defensively with that, and thankfully we have a ton of athletes on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, they're running man coverage. They're running man coverage in both games from last year, and I think in the scrimmage they were loving to run man coverage, and it was very easy to see, as most man coverages are. So we're going to have to throw some man beaters in there, and basically we're just going to have to say our receivers are better than your defensive backs, and I think toughness wins games. I think it's going to be the motto for the year, right? Grit and toughness at the high school level. The tougher team usually wins, so that's what I'm going to preach to my guys.
All right, Coach. Anything else you want Raiders fans to know as they get ready for this first game?
No, I just hopefully everyone's excited as we are to get this season going. It's been a long winter and a long fall, and just thanks for all the support to the community, and we're ready to go.
All right, that is Coach Taylor Zappia for your Massena Raiders. They are getting ready to go as the Red Storm approaches Massena.